trend continues, or if Justin Turry and his staff are able to make ample adjustments to try to get the Johnnies back in this thing. Rutgers at the face-off X has certainly been the better team. They've had the upper hand 6-2 in that department so far. And now they're right back on the front foot with yet another look offensively. Of those 6 goals, all of them came from different Rutgers players. It has not been a one-trick pony by any sense for the Scarlet Knights so far. Now attacking the left end, obviously. One-on-one matchup here as Cardilla backs down his man. Rutgers closest to it with 42 to go, still on the shot clock. Feels like Cardilla wants to join the party a little bit. Remember, he doesn't have a goal yet. Maybe that's what that last take was about. Trying to get it behind Cage, and a strong interception won by the Red Storm long pole. That's Dylan Bender on the back line.
Now comes the difficult part, at least in that first quarter for what we saw from St. John's, was trying to clear, and that's a big-time crushing hit at midfield.
And Brody Hergott took the worst of it at the midline, and Rutgers scoops it right back. Real estate in the middle, extra touch, shot whistles a little high from Cardilla.
That's called being a good teammate there for Casey Mongillo. I mean, he was open, coming right down the lane, and he dished it off to Cardilla. If I'm him, I'm letting that thing loose.
Takes a certain level of restraint to not. Cardilla, another try, and that time just too small of a margin. Coming off from goal line extended.
Restraint that I clearly don't have.
You and me both.
I wouldn't have if I was out there.
Hey, I'm right there with you. Let's see if the third time is a charm here for Cardilla. Already 2 shots on this possession alone. In the middle, he shoots off the pipe.
I think that's the third post that Rutgers has hit so far today. Goaltender's best friend.
Almost makes you wonder what this score could be if those shots were a little more accurate. In the meantime, Vorgang waiting for the reinforcements as Rutgers gets numbers in the offensive zone. So see what this St. John's defense can do here. Kelly shoots and scores. One more for the Scarlet Knights. It's Colin Kelly. He becomes the first multi-goal scorer of the day.
And for Kelly now just 1 goal away from double digits on the season. And Kelly also a player that had a big game the last time these two teams met. He had 4 with Cardilla in the 21-11 win for Rutgers against St. John's. Oh, another player on this Rutgers team that likes seeing the Red Storm on the opposite side of the field.
Yeah, you zoom out and you look at the all-time sort of head-to-head series between these two teams, and it is pretty in line with what our score is right now. It's been pretty one-sided in favor of the Scarlet Knights. They hold a 25-7 advantage. This is the 33rd all-time meeting, series dating all the way back to 1984. More often than not, Rutgers has gotten the better of the Johnnies. Red Storm looking for some offense, really desperate for some source of offense here, it feels like. Carden Stoller has not had to do a whole lot today. But sometimes for a goalie, that becomes the hardest scenario. Novak can't go bottom shelf. Stoller might have got a leg to that. We'll stay with St. John's, though. Off of the reset. Burst of speed for Campbell. Campbell at X, looking for an open teammate. Nobody home.
I mean, Rutgers just a hounding defense right now.
So Campbell says, let me give this a go myself, but he was in the crease. Just tiptoed that end line, Kevin, a little too closely, but you can't blame him with how Rutgers had everybody covered.
Yeah, and I think it was started by the great positioning in goal by Stoller. I mean, you saw the initial save on the first shot of the possession where he kind of dropped down to a knee, took away the bottom shelf, and the shot went wide. And then there, just being around the net, facing the X, and ultimately, with nobody to pass to, forcing the crease violation.
Haven't called Evan Large's name much for Rutgers, but he turns on the Jets here. Rotates it around back up top for J.J. Aiello, who had the impressive tally back in that first quarter. Aiello one-on-one, likes his matchup, surges ahead, shoots, and it's wide to the left. Again, though, Rutgers well-positioned. Remember, if you're new to lacrosse, if you let it fly and it goes out of bounds, not necessarily the other team's ball, like you might think it is if it was last touched by you. No, it's the closest player to it. And oftentimes today that has been the case for the Scarlet Knights. It's generated a lot of extra looks. That one can't be spiked in. And again, a foot race.
I think a shot clock issue right now because it looked like the ball was going to stay with Rutgers.
But then we saw a fresh 60.
Yeah, it's being trimmed down now.
Looked like it was about 4 seconds remaining at the time the ball went out of play. So if Rutgers is going to make something happen here, they'll need to do so very quickly, and it is indeed a 4 count.
You figure right here, going to try to pass into the middle and get a shot away, but instead, just flip it down the other end of the field and take your medicine.
With the 7-1 lead, hard to blame Rutgers for not necessarily trying to push the envelope all too much.
And given how successful they have been in preventing St. John's from clearing.
Right. That one fastball toward Cage. Trying to get a little bit creative. Will be with the Red Storm. We told you earlier the St. John's squad trying to get back into the win column. Couple of tough losses over the last few games. 11-7 final. Fell to Bryant last time out here on Saturday afternoon. Before that, an 11-9 defeat over an Easton, PA against Lafayette. So this is a Red Storm squad that is itching for a victory. They haven't had one since their win over Farmingdale, or rather win over Hofstra in neutral site Farmingdale towards the tail end of February. In transition, Rutgers can't bury that one. Battle for a loose ball. Scarlet Knights pick it up. But a whistle comes in, and it looks like just a timeout on the field. So with 9:13 to go, again, Rutgers still keeping St. John's at arm's length and then some. 7-1 lead for the Scarlet Knights right here on ESPN+. Pretty one-sided thus far. Rutgers 7, St. John's 1. Plenty of time, though, for the Red Storm to try to right the ship. We give you a check of some of the numbers thus far, though. And they really help sort of paint the picture a little bit more, if you will. As far as shots are concerned, Rutgers plus 20 in the shots department, 25-5. They've had the upper hand in faceoffs, 7-3. Scarlet Knights are 8 for 9 on clears, whereas the Red Storm just 6 of 11. So those are a couple of the statistics that St. John's is going to need to turn for the better if they do want to knife their way into this 6-goal deficit. Out of the timeout, Rutgers back on the attack. This is Bennett Rafaelian, standout sophomore midi from New Jersey, in-state product. Of course, you look up and down the roster from a Rutgers perspective, and cool to see not only Brian Breck taking care of recruiting in his own backyard, obviously Northeast, plenty of New Jersey guys, decent chunk of Long Island players as well, but extending well beyond that. You talk about a guy like Hayden Summer, a Texas native, Colin Kelly from the Syracuse area upstate, really a testament to his coaching staff's ability to get out there and recruit. In transition, the Red Storm tack one on. Oh, where did that come from? St. John's going pedal to the metal, and it's Novak with his second of the day.
We said he was going to have to play a really big role in this game for St. John's if they wanted to hang with Rutgers, given the fact that the Red Storm are shorthanded, and he's been able to do that. You remember the goal at the final couple of seconds in the first quarter where it was a scramble in front, and he was the one that just kind of pushed it in, and there he gets some space, he buries it, he brings St. John's back within 5, and I think this is a massive final 8.5 minutes of the second quarter, because if St. John's can get within 3 or 4, the pressure starts to flip, the momentum starts to churn, and can St. John's take advantage of that?
Novak, a preseason All-Big East honoree. When he woke up this morning, 10 goals to 4 assists. Now, of course, his total up to 12. And he continues to piece together what has just been an outstanding career during his time in Queens. Now has points in 21 straight games, dating back to last year. And again, if you missed it off the jump of the show, we should tell you St. John's down their leading scorer today. No Noah Plen for the Red Storm. So a matchup that was already going to be a stiff test against a ranked Rutgers team got that much harder when we got that news just prior to opening faceoff. Another turnover for the Red Storm. That time Max Mullen couldn't put the pass where he needed to, and Rutgers will take possession right back. So there we go again, Kevin. Feels like every time that the door is maybe slightly ajar for St. John's to try to break through and piece together some sort of mini run, some sort of self-inflicted wound prevents that from happening.
Yeah, and that pass just handcuffed Brody Hergott. Like, he was open, just couldn't corral the pass because it was 2 in on his hands. He wanted it out in front so then he could fire a shot in that goal.
Rutgers setting up its offensive set. We've seen this Scarlet Knight squad really just feels like operate with a lot of rhythm today, particularly offensively. Kelly puts it in the back of the net. Oh, a crafty move from Colin Kelly. Tack on another for him. That's his third of the day. The hat trick for number 2.
And you see the strength there, kind of that get off me, lowering that shoulder, creating that separation, and plenty of room to bury it for his third goal of the game, which gets him to double digits now on the season at 10.
So Kelly now outscoring St. John's as a team. Kelly 3, Red Storm 2. What a day for the grad student Mitty from Syracuse.
And it's just been the physicality of this Scarlet Knights team that has been the most impressive.
Looking for more. Oh, top shelf. Hayden Summer the finish. That passing about as crisp as it gets from a Rutgers perspective. And Summer the icing on the cake.
Tic-tac-toe results in a goal. Rutgers has been crisp, they have been sharp, and they have been dominant here in this first half.
Leads to a Justin Turry timeout with 6:30 to go in this first half. 9-2, Rutgers in the driver's seat here on ESPN+. It's been tough to come by today for the Red Storm. Only 2 goals to show for through about a quarter and a half, a little more than that here from Belson Stadium. Rutgers, on the flip side, has hit the ground running from an offensive standpoint. The number 19 team in the nation, trying to get back in the win column after a tough loss to a top 5 Princeton squad last time out. And safe to say, Kevin Conaway, the Rutgers response has been outstanding.
It really has been, and it's a game that you can overlook. You're coming on the road, you're coming off of a tough loss, you have a gauntlet of a schedule still ahead of you to begin in a week or so. And it's very easy to be like, just go through the motions. And Rutgers has done none of that. They have been determined since the start of this game, and that is all the elements of a really, really good team that we're seeing here today with the Scarlet Knights.
Scarlet Knights only have lost 2 games this year. Both of those losses have come against ranked opponents. Number 3, Princeton, and then number 12, Army. Cardilla, one-on-one with his man, spinning his way down low. Feeds it off for Kelly, who jumps and shoots a little too high. But yeah, that Army loss back on February the 7th, that was only their 2nd game of the year. Then they rattled off 4 in a row that included a trip out here to Long Island when they took down Stony Brook 14-11 back on Valentine's Day. But yeah, those only 2 times the Scarlet Knights have slipped up have been against ranked foes. When they are quote-unquote supposed to take care of business, they have took care of business. That's been the case so far today. Another Red Storm turnover. Scarlet Knights back on it. On the far side, Cardilla playing facilitator, not that time. Red Storm come up with the takeaway. Can St. John's concoct some offense here? It's Wade Bryan, the LSM. Red Storm to keep.
And right now for St. John's, you have to just break this game up into segments. You're taking it possession by possession. You get a stop. You have to score. In these final 5 minutes of the second quarter, can you get the deficit down to around 5? I think that should be a goal. If you can make it a 5-goal game at halftime, maybe that gives you some life. You've been a pretty good team in the third quarter this season.
Mitch Campbell tiptoeing the crease. I think that's exactly what the Red Storm are trying to do.
There's no play to get 7 goals at once.
In the middle, that shot deflected. A hard check as the ricochet came in. And a nice job defensively by Ryan Splain to alter that look. St. John's trying to bury another, and a strong save made that time by Cardin Stoller. It was Novak who let it fly, and Stoller was all over it.
And how about the outlet pass from Stoller to send Rutgers on their way? I know it really couldn't have been handled by Spillane, but Rutgers still able to settle things down, get the possession, but just a tremendous outlet pass by the goalie.
Hounding defense from a Red Storm perspective. Cam Conradi trying to cause some chaos. And a hard check on that far side. As you saw the entirety of the St. John's bench really fired up. Ryan Mealy. But again, Rutgers says not so fast.
And at a certain point, it hurts your confidence level of, okay, we can get this clear. We got to stop. And it's like, now comes the hard part. St. John's really has to do a much better job at that in the second half. And not just in the second half. I mean, going forward in the rest of this season.
Right. J.J. Aiello trots up ahead. And GLE moving closer. Spin move down low for Hayden Summer. Distributes it around the horn. Cardilla has had an impressive day already, even without finding the back of the net, but now he does. Oh, it was only a matter of time for Colin Cardilla to put one home past Matt Nelson, and Rutgers hits double digits.
What a snipe. The quick hands of Cardilla. That's just impossible to defend against. How the defender on his hip was able to turn, get a little bit of an angle, and just let the wrists fly, and a bullet through the cage. And Rutgers, their biggest lead of the game so far.
So that's got to feel good. Cardilla gets goal number 1 on shot number 5. He's had his looks here in this first half, but also has 5 helpers as well and has been involved Really feels like every offensive possession.
And 100 career points for him as well on that goal. So a incredible achievement, and he does so in style.
Outstanding accolade for Cardilla, who has been the anchor of this Rutgers attack really all year, whether it be in a scoring capacity, distributing capacity, what have you. Final 2 minutes of play here in the first half. And one more for the Scarlet Knights. Why not? Hayden Summer, once again, a hat trick. The second Scarlet Knight player with 3 goals, as Summer joins Kelly with his 3rd tally of the day.
And exactly what Rutgers was hoping for going into halftime. All right, we talked about for St. John's, you wanted to try to dwindle the deficit down to about 5. Well, Rutgers, they wanted to do the exact opposite. They wanted to expand upon it. They do exactly that. Now they're up 11-2 with 2 minutes to go in this first half, and really a chance to put this game away going into the third quarter if they're able to get another goal or 2 in these final 2 minutes.
So just to give you an idea of what St. John's has worked with recently, last time out against Bryant, Kevin, they trailed 8-2 at the break. So halftime deficits, and rather larger halftime deficits, is unfortunately for Justin Turry and his staff something that has become really an occurrence far more often than St. John's would have hoped, at least over the course of these past few games. Battle for possession just in front of the lip of the crease, and possession will point St. John's way. Shot clock and game clock were just about even, but now after the giveaway, Rutgers can take this down as much as they would like. Off the reset. Oh, another score. Colin Cardilla just stepped in front of Cage and powered it to the top shelf. So Cardilla's starting to get hot now, and Rutgers really can do no wrong in this first half.
And when you look at the results from Rutgers' past 7 games, a lot of them have been the nail-biters. It's been the 1-goal win over Jacksonville. You mentioned the 2 losses against Army and against Princeton, but they won by 3 against Stony Brook, 1 against Villanova. You know, the LIU game was their biggest differential, their biggest margin of victory, and they won by 3 against Hofstra. So Rutgers hasn't had a half or a game like this season. And when you're in the grind of a year, especially in non-conference play, when you can have the juices flowing for conference play and these games can kind of be a slog, you need a game like this. And Rutgers certainly getting one here with a double-digit lead in the final minute.
On the road, no less, too. Let's not forget. Can St. John's grab some momentum on its side before hitting the locker room for halftime? This is Owen Rogers. Locates Mitch Campbell. Those two have played catch a bunch here in this first half. It's Campbell behind Cage, and again, try to find a white jersey that doesn't have a black jersey draped all over it. That's what Campbell is trying to do. Brings it himself. Immediately met with pressure. Now the slide comes, and the ball knocked free. That's how our first half comes to a close.